of Saturday night. Who'd you get for us, Kyle?
Man, first and foremost, I not only have a player's father. I got one of my good friends, a guy I admire, a guy who has counseled me from time to time. We've broken bread. The one and only Kenyon Murray, Keegan Murray's dad, joining us here on the Drive Guys, Sactown Sports 1140. Before we get into your son, Kenyon, I got to wish you a happy 50th birthday, my man. The fact that you're spending it with us, spending a small part of it with us, man, that makes me feel good. Thanks for the love.
Oh, man, absolutely. Between you and my girls' basketball team that has practice in about an hour, hey, I wouldn't have it any other way.
That'd be Prairie High, right? And McKenna's your daughter's got practice today? Yeah. Kenyon Murray, nice to join us. What do you make of the way Sacramento has embraced your son as one of their own?
Man, it's been, I think first and foremost, we feel like Sacramento is just an extension of Iowa when it comes to the people and how, how they treat them, how they treat the basketball team. It's very similar to what we experience here in Iowa. And, for me, it's just super cool to see. Never thought that I would have a kid in the NBA. I mean, let's just be real about it. And then to have two, but then the way Sacramento has embraced Keegan has just been wonderful for us as a family, and they've embraced us too. So they definitely have embraced the whole family.
Kenyon Murray, you can follow him on all social media channels. Kenyon Murray, CEO of Murray Legacy Management, the Murray Foundation, and the host of Leave Your Legacy podcast. I'll ask you about that in a minute, but we got to go back to Saturday. Where were you Saturday night when Keegan was going off for 47, and what did you think?
Well, it was crazy. We're sitting in the living room because we were watching Portland on one TV and Sac on another TV, and the Portland game was over, so we tuned into Sac, and it was just McKenna, her boyfriend, Michelle, and I sitting there watching, and it was just crazy. And then McKenna finally goes like, "What the hell's going on right now?" Like, it's just we've seen him go off, but it was just a different feeling to be able to do it on that stage at the highest level. Like, it was more awe than anything else, because all I can say to this day is wow. I mean, it was just wow for us as a family.
Kenyon, when did you first get the sense that Keegan was on his way to that big night? Kyle was there. Kyle said, third quarter, that's really when he got hot, but your son like nobody else. When did you first get the sense that, okay, something really big is happening tonight?
Well, it was actually in the second quarter, and he made a three, and the camera panned to him, and I said to Michelle, I go, we've seen that look before. It was just he let the ball go, and he made the space that he makes when I know he's like in a zone, and then we're like, yeah, it might be a 30-point night. I was like, yeah, he's going to get his career high, but I didn't think it'd be anything like that.
Kenyon, what did you text him afterwards, or what was that conversation like after the game?
Well, Keegan's not one to talk a whole lot if he's not prompted by, you guys in the media. So Michelle was like, hey, I'm going to try and FaceTime him. I'm like, honey, like he's probably doing, media right now. And man, that dude picked up the phone so fast. So it was, he answered on like the first ring. So I was like, yeah, he really wants to talk about this one. But no, it was just, it was one of those things where he embraced it. I think he realized what he did, but he's not going to show it. I think he always says, I'll have time to enjoy all this stuff, after I played in the league. But we tell him, like, enjoy the moments. These things don't happen a lot. Enjoy the moments when you have them. But he's one of those guys, like, he'll celebrate for maybe an hour, and then it's back to the grind. And that's just how he's been able to be as successful as he has. And, he'll be ready again to lace him up tonight and go again against the Wizards.
Catching up with Kenyon Murray, who, of course, was a star in his own right at Iowa, and he coached his sons. Kenyon, what do you think is the best basketball advice you ever gave Keegan?
Man, I think the best basketball advice I've ever given him is trust your work.
Mm-hmm. Explain that to me.
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he and his brother have always put work in the gym. You know, for a long time they'd work their tails off, and they didn't really see the benefits, whether it was in the weight room or from recruiting. And we kind of know their story as far as the path they had to get to the NBA. But I always said, always trust the work. Like, you have worked on this move or that move so many times. You've put in more hours than probably the next five guys to you. So whether you're having a bad night shooting or whatever it is, like, just trust the work that you put in, because you've got a very solid foundation. And so I think, the funny thing about trusting the work is that last three on the 12th three. I remember us during the pandemic, we had a friend who had a gym in our house, and we were able to use it. And we worked on that jab step three, like, for hours. And I saw that, and I was like, yep. That's the COVID three right there. That's the COVID jab step that we worked on. So a lot of what he does goes back to what we started when he and his brother were in 7th and 8th grade. And obviously now it's enabled them to play at the level that they're playing.
Kenyon Murray joining us here, father of Keegan Murray and Chris Murray, who's with the Portland Trail Blazers. Kenyon, I remember one time, whether it was text or we were sitting down, you said Keegan was just scratching the surface of what he could do. This was last season. What did you mean by that, and what can fans expect to see? Where can we expect to see that growth this season?
Well, I think, more than anything, he was a ball dominant guard growing up because he was small. So he played, point guard, shooting guard. But then when he got to Iowa, it was more playing off the ball, cutting, things like that. And so I felt like his ball handling might have taken a step back from where it was when he was younger. And so I think scratching the surface for him, and we've seen a lot of glimpses of it this year, is his ability to handle the ball, to make plays off the dribble. You've seen him get into his float game. You've seen him get into his fadeaway. And I think athletically, for him to be able to increase his vertical jump, put on 10 pounds like he did last year, I think he increased his vertical jump by almost 4 inches in the offseason. That, to me, tells me that there's still more there that's coming. So I think from a physical standpoint and a skill standpoint, you're just going to continue to see him get better and better. And that's what it's about. It's like, what did I do good last year? Okay, I don't want to be known as just a three-point shooter. Working with Foxy and everything that way. I just think that when he continues to improve on those little things, even in his footwork and maybe his explosion a little bit, like, you'll see him become something that, frankly, not a lot of people thought that he could become. And that's what I mean by scratching the surface. I think he's still got a lot of room to grow physically as well as skill-wise.
And what have you seen from your son in terms of Keegan's development at the defensive end?
Oh, man, it's funny. He's in press conferences, and I'm like, man, that sounds like me. Like, that's what I used to say when it came to just the preparation to play defense. I didn't play at the NBA level, but in the Big Ten, I played against NBA caliber players all the time. And one of the things I always told Keegan is, like, if you can establish yourself as a two-way player, first in college, you'll have a chance to be successful. And I think Coach Brown sees the ability in him. As I watch Keegan, I go back to, there's some times where he reminds me of a guy like Scottie Pippen, just with his length, being able to guard multiple positions. I think defensively, he's still got a lot of room to grow there as he learns, angles, and, being in the league, for a few more years, you tend to get some more calls maybe on the defensive end. So I'm just so proud of him that he hasn't settled in being just an okay defender. Like, he really wants to be that guy that locks the other team's best player down. And from a defensive-minded coach and dad like me, I'm super excited to see him make strides on that end of the floor.
So you're cool with Mike Brown pushing him the way he is and asking him to guard the Steph Currys, the Donovan Mitchells of the world?
Yeah, because I couldn't get him to play defense in high school. So I'm glad anybody's got him to play defense at the level he is now. So, but, all kidding aside, I think Coach Brown has been great for him. He's always had tough coaches. I mean, he had me. He had Coach McCaffrey, who was really tough on him. But, but in that, too, he had coaches that understood what his potential was, and they allowed him to play his game. And you can kind of see that this year with Coach Brown really allowing him to play his game within the confines of their offense, which is unbelievable with the guys around him.
Kenyon, I know you said Keegan was anxious to talk to everybody at home Saturday, and this is kind of personal. I understand if you don't want to answer it, but he's in the second year as an NBA player now. Does he call home as much? Does he need your help with things as much, or is he starting to get it all figured out, all that adult stuff, being on his own now in California?
No, all the adulting stuff, Mom and I still take care of. The most important thing for him and Chris is to focus on their profession. Their job right now is to put everything they can to be the best basketball players they can be. And for Michelle and I to be able to, take that load off of them while they concentrate on the things that they need to concentrate on, it's fine. As parents, we want to, we don't like the kids leaving the nest. We know it's part of, growing up and becoming an adult. But I think in this situation, we're happy, very happy to be able to still be there when he needs us. If Michelle needs to fly out for anything, she can do that. Because it's all about being there for our kids and helping them be in the best situation for these guys on and off the floor.
Well, you guys doing a fantastic job, Kenyon, you and Michelle. When I look at, Keegan and the way he plays and his demeanor, it wasn't always like that, was it? You've told the story a few times, because I think back to, some of the early season struggles he had, knocking down the shots and things like that. You told me maybe in the past he would get down on himself. How do you think he's handled it now as a professional?
When he was struggling, I said to him, I said, what do you feel? He's like, well, I feel like they're going in, I don't think he ever lost confidence, because the one thing we talked about is I said, realize this, you're playing defense at a higher level than you've ever had. I go, you're picking guys up full court. You play Golden State, you're guarding Steph and Clay, then Draymond, then Wiggins, then Chris Paul when he comes in. I go, that's hard to do. So I said, you got to realize you're using your legs more than you have in the past. So just make the adjustment. I was like, if you feel like everything's the same, but I see from your legs and your shot, like you're not using your legs, you're not getting your elbow up. So that's where like you said earlier, I was like, hey, go back to the work. Like, remember what the foundation is. Remember, we talked about these adjustments that you have to make in the game. So I think I don't think he was ever down on himself, and obviously his teammates weren't down on him. I just think he felt like, hey, it's going to come. But I still need to figure out how I can be the best Keegan Murray on both ends of the floor. And I think we're starting to see that he's figuring that out, and he's combining both unbelievable defensive games with great shooting nights and offensive games for the Kings.
Kenyon, before I let you get out of here, man, I want to give a plug to your Leave Your Legacy podcast. I know you're doing some big things with that. Explain to the people what it is and what's next for you guys.
Man, it's been a crazy, crazy year for the Leave Your Legacy podcast. We started it kind of as a sports podcast. The people we were working with, they had done some NIL stuff with Chris and Keegan, and that's kind of how it got started. But we've been so fortunate that within the last year, we actually got picked up by a new streaming network on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. So it's no longer the Leave Your Legacy podcast. It's the Leave Your Legacy show, and we're available on Bravehearts TV. And Bravehearts is an unbelievable platform for us because the programming that they have on there, they want it to be uplifting and inspiring programming, faith-based, whatever. We want to be able to put positive programming in the world, and where I feel like our show is great at, it's telling other people's story. Kyle, I had you on the podcast, and it was really about having conversations, open conversations, people learning about Kyle Draper in a different way than maybe they didn't. I had one guest on, his mom actually messaged and said, hey, I learned something new about my son on your podcast today. So the Leave Your Legacy podcast is really about creating a platform where people that are doing great things in their own right can talk about it. And I told you, Kyle, too, everybody has a legacy, regardless of where you live, where you grew up, your schooling, whatever your profession is. There are people that are looking to you for leadership, to help guide them, and you're leaving a legacy for someone. And so I just want to be able to share people's stories and get them out there. So it's been a phenomenal year for us. I've got a great team, a production team behind me, and yeah, I think big things are coming for us in the future as well.
Kenyon Murray, we know you have better things to do on your birthday than talk with us. So we appreciate it very, very much. Thank you for your time. Hope to talk to you again soon. Enjoy the game tonight, sir.
I will. I'll see you, Kyle. I'll be out there on the 23rd. So if you're around, hopefully I can catch up with you.
Yeah, we'll get together, and then I'm going to Portland too, man. So I knew that's family time,
nice.
but I'll be there too.
Yeah.
So I'll see you then. Okay.
Yep. The whole family will be in Portland, so it'll be a fun night.
All right, Kenyon. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate you.
All right. Have a good day, fellas.
Take care. Appreciate it. What Keegan's big night means for the Kings' plans for this season, then